Hello, hello, hello. Excuse me. Welcome to week 5 of our 6 weeks to organized course. This is actually going to be, I think, our last week of actual course content. When I have taught this in the past, it's been in person. And so, you've got right in the moment Q&As. Takes a little bit longer to get through the content. So like in times past, I've separated the sort and the destash into like 2 separate lessons, or I've separated the assign a home and containerize into 2 separate lessons, sort of depending on my audience. So doing this virtually, I can get through content a little bit faster, which I kind of expected at the beginning, but wasn't sure. So I figured I would rather put it out there as a 6-week course and then get to week 5 and be like, hey, we're done, as opposed to the other way around. The Facebook group will be open through the end of October, and the videos will be accessible on YouTube through the end of the year. I know everybody has not gotten through all of the videos. And I'm going to pull the live Q&As from the Facebook group and put them on YouTube. So anybody who has not gotten to those, you aren't going to be missing out on that content. I'm going to put it out there and make sure that that's available to everybody. So you're not going to miss anything. Today we're going to talk about developing maintenance routines for keeping your space organized. But there's a couple of things from previous weeks that I wanted to go over. One thing I realized I forgot to mention in depth, I think I kind of glossed over it or maybe talked about it in a Q&A. And then one thing that I intentionally didn't put in last week's lesson because it's kind of a next level thing that tends to be kind of overwhelming to people while they're initially absorbing content. So I kind of wanted to hold on to it. Actually, no, there's 3 things because there's something I actually forgot to talk about in the Q&A that I was supposed to. So the first thing we're going to talk about is making your own scrap rack. So I did the little video tour of my craft space. And in that video, I talked about the scrap rack and talked about how I didn't think they were going to be manufactured anymore or were being manufactured anymore. And then I would talk in the Q&A about how to make one of your own. And I completely forgot to talk about it in the Q&A. So I'm going to talk about that here. Let me get to, now I had all this set up for all the things I was going to need to screen share. And then I started messing around doing some other things first. And then I lost all, it's not all set up. So let me open these real quick and I will pull them over. I almost threw this stuff in slides, but I feel like in slides, the pictures are so much smaller that you can't really see them very well. So I thought just sharing my screen would be better. So I'm going to share this. So this is kind of a overhead view of my scrap rack. So it's a metal base. I actually have the base and an extension. So there's a metal base with, I don't know what you call it, things on each end, metal things on each end to support it and hold it up. And then it's got Velcro strips, and they're called spinders. And you have these Velcro strips that have metal rings on them to hold your inserts, and you attach the inserts to the base using those metal strips. So it's basically almost like a huge open accordion file system. And I don't know that this will switch out for me if I do this. Nope, it just stopped sharing my screen. That's what I was afraid of. So I have a little picture that's a little bit more of a close-up And so then I have dividers and I separate everything based on the Totally Tiffany method, which I talked about early on. So everything is alphabets, colors, which is not in my scrap rack, seasons, and themes. And so you can see the beginning of my summer and my fall season. So because these are not being made anymore, and you probably can go on eBay, and I might actually do that. And if I can find any on eBay, I'll share it in the group. But you can make your own. So what you would need is I recommend a 12 by 12 binder, because that way it holds the pages, because you can still get the pages, the various storage pages for the scrap rack. And then you would have a binder for your various categories. So, and that would depend on how much you have, right? So if you don't have a lot of fall, for example, you could potentially put maybe fall and spring together, or fall and summer together, depending on, quantity. It could be that you need, one for each season, and then maybe your themes can be compacted together into one binder. It would take up a lot of space with a 12 by 12 binder. That is absolutely true. But it can be done. You can also use 8.5 by 11 binders and use just sheet protectors, and drop things in there, or the various different size photo protectors. You can use that. You could use a 12 by 12 ring scrapbook album and put 12 by 12 sheet protectors, or some of the Totally Tiffany dividers into that. You could also follow that sort of process with accordion files, and those might fit better on shelves. The reason I like this is because you can kind of see everything without having to pull stuff out. I can flip through and be like, oh yeah, that's what I need. So it is something you can do on your own. It's not cheap necessarily, and it definitely takes up space. But if you are a paper crafter and you're a scrapbooker or a card maker and you have a lot of embellishments, in my opinion, something like that is worth it, because it's very visual and it has everything all nice and neatly organized. So like I said, I'll go on eBay and see if I can find one, just so you can see what it looks like, because anymore I can't even find pictures. At one point, Michaels was selling them. I don't think they are anymore. And then Crafter's Companion is who sells her other products now. And so I will go on, and we'll make sure to add that link is added to your resource list that I have for you. And I need to make myself a note of that because it's not on there right now. And I want to share some of her other supplies. So like, she makes this really nice double-sided tray container that's really great for rubber stamps. And so I'll put that in the Facebook group this week. That's how I store my mounted stamps. So it's a little poly envelope file holder thingy. I can't find my words. It has Velcro, and it has two different sides, and it has a little tray, and you put your rubber stamps in, and you can flip it over, and there's a tray on the other side, and you can hold it that way. That's great. I love that for my mounted stamps. And then she has other little bags. She calls them buddies. This is what I use for my little jars of glitter. And I have other ones that I use for washi tape and other kinds of embellishment. So I'll kind of link to all of those things as well. So that was something that I wanted to make sure I talked about, although I don't feel like I did a very good job of explaining it. Maybe I'll do a little video of it again and try to give it provide a better explanation of how you could make one of your own. I have a 12 by 12 binder around here somewhere. I could actually probably put one together to show you what that might look like. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I don't feel like I did a very good job of in the previous week is temporary homes for destashing. So one of the things that proves challenging for creatives as you try to destash your supplies is the question of, but what if I need it? And that's a fair question. We spend a lot of money on scrapbook supplies, and so the idea of having to buy something again can be daunting in the idea of getting rid of things. So here is my solution to that, and it's something that I've tried. It does work. Anything that you are struggling with, so it wasn't a absolute keep it, but it wasn't a absolute get rid of it. It's a but what if I need it kind of thing. Put those things in a box or a storage tub. Label the box or the storage tub in some fashion, put something that says what's in it, take pictures of what's in it and keep it on your phone, but then also label it with a date. I recommend no more than 6 months in the future. That's variable depending on seasonal. So if you're doing this, say, at the end of this year, and you have some winter items that you're questioning whether or not you want to keep, you might want to give yourself more time if you're not a I'm doing winter stuff in July, already kind of person, but definitely no more than 12 months and label it. If at the end of that period you have anything in that box, can go. So if you've pulled stuff out over time, then you want to find it a home somewhere else because obviously you're going to use it. You don't want to put it back in that box. But if you come to the end of your 6 months or 9 months or however much time you gave yourself, and there's still things in that box, 98% chance you're not going to need it. And if you do 2 years from now, you can go find it again. So that's one of the ways to handle that. It takes some of the pressure off. It gives you a way to store things kind of out of the way, and also gives you a true measure of whether or not you're going to use something. Because if you haven't gone to look for it in that time frame, then chances are you don't need it. Now, you definitely want to make sure you have a note of what's in the box because you don't want it to become one of those, I forgot that I had it. We're going to talk about cataloging here in a minute. So you want to make sure you have a way to see what's in the box just in case. But again, it's that whole gives you a little bit of a wiggle room around the getting rid of it right away and gives you a little time to think about it and process it. And you might actually have a day where you think about what's in that box and you're like, you know what, it's just going to go. I'm not even going to wait the 6 months. I need the space. I need to get rid of these things, and I'm going to do that. The other thing, and this is the one thing I didn't want to mention last week because it's it feels a little over the top, even though it's something that I do. It really does fit better into the assign a home category. But when I've talked about this in the assign a home lesson in the past, people kind of get that glazed over look on me because it's just a little bit too much. So I have found that people have an opportunity to process the lesson, the assign the home and containerize lesson first, and then I introduce the idea of cataloging. They're ready, people are ready for new information and ready for new content and can kind of wrap their heads around it a little more. It is next level organization, and I'm not going to lie, it is an investment of time up front, but it's totally worth it on the back end. So cataloging your supplies is a way for you to make sure you know what you have, you know where to find it. And I highly recommend electronic systems that are portable so that when you are out shopping, it's not a matter of do I have this or not? And perfect case in point for me is anytime I am at a scrapbook show and Scrappy Boy Stamps is there and I'm looking and I'm like, oh, do I have this or not? Because I have so much of their stuff that I'm like, I don't remember. I have no idea if I have. I mean, there's a few things I know for sure I have, but there's a lot of other stuff that I don't. And having everything electronic, I use Airtable. has been amazing to be able to just pull that up and be like, oh yeah, I have that. Or I'm also putting my wish list on Airtable, so I can be like, nope, that's on my wish list, so I can take care of that. But there's 3 ways. And if you fall into the got a little category, okay, more than just taking pictures and keeping them on your phone, anything else might be a little bit too much. It's really up to you to kind of decide what works best. But if you're in the got a lot category, then this is something I would recommend you consider. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. One is using these smart labels on your storage containers. So I talked about these in the Facebook Live Q&A yesterday, and you'll have access to that even when we're done with all the lessons, because I'm going to pull those all off Facebook and put them out on YouTube. So even once I've closed the group out, you'll have access to it. But these are amazing. So they're QR code labels. You can get them off Amazon. You scan them with your phone, and I am going to show you to an app, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. I have some screenshots because just holding up my phone and showing you what it looks like is you can't really see it. The lighting and stuff makes it difficult. Let's see. Why is that not popping up? Probably because I have too many things open. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Oh, that's probably why, because I don't have it on the right. There we go. I wasn't looking at the right monitor. Oops, I want to share. Sorry about that. Okay, so again, you put the label on, you get the labels off Amazon, you put the label on your tub, you scan it with your phone for the QR code, and there's an app, the Smart Label app. It's free to use up to a certain point. Once you have so many things or you're wanting to add like multiple quantities, there is a charge, but it's $15 a year, which is well worth it for me because I use this for keeping track of business inventory as well as personal supplies. So that $15 was completely worth it. If $15 doesn't seem like it's worth it for you, I've got a couple other options for you, so don't worry about that. You name your container. So, and this number up here corresponds to the number on the label. So you can name it whatever you want. You can put different locations so you know where it is. And then it's not going to let me do that. I was hoping if I just swapped, it would let me. I just figured out how to do that in Zoom the other day. How to switch between things without having to reshare my screen. You take a picture of the container, which is up here, but then you can also take pictures of the items, name them, and this is what is in that container. And so this is just a screenshot. I have, more things in this container, and so I can scroll. But this is a great way to catalog. You can use the labels, you can add your pictures, you can then pull it up on your phone when you're out shopping and be like, do I have something like this already? Because it's actually searchable too. So, I had something in one of the containers, beaded star. So I can go up and search, and I just type beaded, and it gives me everything that I have in a container that has that in the title. So that's one way. The other way is just a simple Excel spreadsheet. And, you know, Excel is great. And if you have Google Drive, you can do it in Google Drive. And it's just just a Google Sheet, which is the equivalent to Excel. That is, you know, cloud-based, and you can access it that way. I'm going to show you I started out with an Excel spreadsheet. I have OneDrive, so I can access it wherever I want. I think that's it right there. Yep. So I can pull it up on my phone. That looks really blurry on my end. Nope. Okay, that's clear for you. All right, I just had to change my view. And so I just have tab. I just named it 2024. I had this named something else, and it wasn't really even relevant to what this is because I copied and pasted from something else. So I just named it 2024. I have the manufacturer, I have the supply type, I have the name and collection, quantity, color, category, location. Now you could have different tabs for different kinds of supplies. It doesn't all have to be on one. So if I wanted all my paper packs on one tab, my colored die cuts on the other, layered stencils on the other, stamp sets on another, you could absolutely set it up that way. This note here, and actually I need to go back, and I don't even really need to do this anymore. I'm actually transferring everything over into an Airtable, which I'll get to that in a minute. I don't necessarily put everything on this. So I have a collection of buttons, for example, wooden buttons. And so what I would just put on this is wooden buttons, various colors and designs, and a rough estimate of how many I have. I'm not going to count them all. I'm not going to catalog them all on here because they're multiple colors and things like that. What I would want on here is, like, I have various wooden shapes, small ones and large ones that can be painted as embellishments. I want those on here because I want to know, do I have snowflakes? You know, and roughly what size are they? Because if I am at Michael's and I am looking for embellishments for things, I'm going to be thinking, do I already have something like this? And I'm going to want to be able to pull that up and tell. So how detailed you get really kind of depends on the item and how you're going to use it. Beads is another thing. You know, I might list out the various colors of beads that I have. And, you know, large, medium, small, you know, I'm not going to measure because I don't do anything specific enough with beading that I need to know, do I have a 2mm bead or a 5mm bead? I just need to know, is it a big bead or a small bead? And I might have the colors just so I know, like, roughly, okay, I need an orange bead and I don't have any, that sort of thing. So that's really going to be a very personal kind of decision. Now, what's not going to go on here is scrapbook paper. I'm not cataloging my scrapbook paper. That would take me forever. And have I bought scrapbook paper before that I already have? Yeah. I don't necessarily worry about that. I'm a paper hoarder. I am not going to lie. And now the paper packs, like for Scrappy Boys and stuff like that, yeah, I catalog those because those are very thematic. Ribbon, I'm not necessarily going to put on here. So again, it's all about how you shop and what you think is worth it to you to have a catalog of. And again, pictures work just fine, right? So would it be worth it once I get my ribbon all organized to have a picture somewhere that I can access of my ribbon? Probably. But I don't know that it's worth it to necessarily try to detail it on a cataloging document. The other thing that then I want to show you is my Airtable. So Airtable is a there it is. Okay. Airtable is an online service. It is free up to a certain point, I think, or there are paid plans that you can get. To be honest, I don't know what the difference is. Not sure if we can figure that out real quick. Might not even be worth it. Here we go. Here's the upgrade. So I'm using the free plan, unlimited bases, 1,000 records per base, up to 5 editors, 1 gig of attachments per base. So this is all I'm going to need. And if I get to a point where I have more than 1,000 records in a base, I'm just going to create a different base. So this is my existing base for my craft supply catalog. Right now I have 52 records in there. Could I easily get to 1,000 records? Probably, depending on how I wanted to use it. But if I did that, then what I would do is I would just create a new base for colored die cuts, and I would move the colored die cut information over to that base, because I'm not paying $20 a month for this. And I don't think I'm going to get to a place where I'm going to need that. I think that was the next level up. Yeah, $20 per seat per month, billed annually. Now, if I were to move all of my Chocolature inventory into Airtable, that might be worth the $20 a month. But right now I have that in a Excel spreadsheet because I don't need that on the fly as much. And that's more business inventory management than it is craft supply cataloging, and the two functionalities are very different for me. But if I were going to go that route, that may be something that I did. The categories here are the same: supply type, manufacturer, name, quantity, category, color. The reason I like the Airtable, one is that I can put pictures in, which you can't really do easily in Excel or in a Google Sheet. I am not a big Google Drive fan. I'm not going to lie. I struggle with it. I like OneDrive better, where I can access all my files. However, this is even easier than that because it's more instantaneous. OneDrive is multiple steps to be able to open up a file. This, I literally pull up Airtable on my phone and it's right there, which is why I'm doing this over just keeping things in Excel and going through OneDrive or doing it on a Google Sheet. Now, if you are a Google Drive person and Google Sheets is your jam, go that route. Completely go that route. I am going to share with everybody my Excel, a template in Excel, and my Airtable template. So if you want to take the Excel template and upload it into Google Drive, you can. It'll just turn it into a Google Sheet. If you already have an Airtable account or you're curious about it, I'm going to send you the template that you can create a free account and try to play around with. I've also got my, this is actually not my wish list. I just copied my main catalog so I would have the same format, and I'm adding my wish list to it so that, again, it's all in the same place. You can also absolutely 100% easily create a catalog with a notebook or a binder and word tables, or again, pictures on your phone. Whatever works for you. And if you are listening to me talk and you're thinking about the whole idea of cataloging and you're like, oh, no, that's totally fine. Don't. Like, if it's too overwhelming to even think about, don't. Leave it for another day. If it's overwhelming but you're intrigued, then explore it and just start with a notebook, right? Get a notebook that has multiple sections so you can separate things out by supply type or something like that, and just start writing things down. start with new things as you buy them, and put some time aside to add things that you already have, or take one category of supplies and create a catalog for that and see how it feels. If it's not your boat, then it's not your boat. Totally fine. Just a recommendation, something that I like. My brain works that way, and I find it useful. Okay, so now today's lesson. So this is really just about creating a maintenance routine. So you've done all this work to get supplies organized. You have done the homework, the background work of identifying what gets in your way. You have sorted, you have destashed, you have assigned a home and containerized, or you're working on all those things, which is wonderful. Doesn't matter how far along you are. If you have taken one step into the process, I applaud you. That's great. Once you get to a place where things are mostly done, you're going to want to think about maintaining that. And, full disclosure, this is an area I am personally struggling with right now. So I am going to be definitely working on this step, and I'm going to share my maintenance plan in the group as evidence of that. But you want to think about how you're going to maintain what you've done across several places. So first is your organized only space. What is your plan for that? Are you going to be a clean that off every day person, and every couple of days, or once a week? The second is just your overall space, and that's how often are you going to sweep the room? Anything that's in there that doesn't belong in there goes back where it belongs. Things that have been taken out and not put away get put back away. How often is that going to work for you? Is that going to be every day? Is that going to be every few days? Is that going to be once a week, once every 2 weeks? I don't advise going more than once every 2 weeks to do something like that, because then clutter really builds up, especially if you're in a high creativity season, because that means you're busier, and the more you let it build up, the less time you're going to have to get it all taken care of. And then you're going to create a sense of frustration for yourself, and you're going to get blocked, and you're going to have all of this taking up space in your head, and that's going to take away from your creativity. So really once a week would be my recommendation. But again, that's the ideal state. We know that there's going to be times where that's not how it works. But if the goal is once a week, and you have a couple of months where it's every 2 weeks, you're still moving along better than where you've been. So we're going to compare ourselves to where we were, and not compare ourselves to the ideal state. There's a book that I'm reading right now called The Gap and the Gain. The gap is when we compare ourselves to the ideal. The gain is where we compare ourselves to a previous state and focus on how far we've come. So I want you to stay focused on how far you've come. And even in thinking about your maintenance routines, you're going to think about what's realistic, and that is an ideal state, but you're going to give yourself some grace and know that it's not always going to be like that. And that's okay, because again, organized people are not organized all the time. One of my long-term goals is to kind of bifurcate my business and have the craft-based side of my business stay Girl Friday Crafts, and have the organization side of my business be a company called Organized-ish. I already have the domain and everything, because I believe in that, in giving ourselves that grace and recognition that being organized doesn't mean that it always looks that way, and that only matters to you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. And then the third piece of the maintenance routine is regular de-stash sessions. Try not to use the word purge. It's a good idea to de-stash all of your supplies once or twice a year. That doesn't mean you have to do all of it at one time. It just means that you have a process for how you're going to do it. So for me, right, I thought about this for me, like, how would I do this? So scrapbook paper. The best time for me to de-stash scrapbook paper is in the early spring before I go to creating keepsakes down in St. Louis, usually in April, because I know I'm going to come back with a lot of scrapbook paper. Like my stack from last April was probably about that thick. And so the March, it's worth de-stashing all of that. Holiday specific or seasonal supplies, the good system for that is when the season's over. So mid-December for me, when I'm done with all my Christmas crafting and things like that, I'm not done with winter necessarily because I'll have, first of the year and Valentine's Day, but I'm done with Christmas. That's a good time for me to de-stash all of that stuff because then I can really think about, oh my gosh, I've had this for like 3 years and I still haven't used it. Maybe it's time to donate it to Creative Reuse or to Goodwill. Or I have one little piece left of this set of 6 that I bought. Am I going to use this? Maybe I'll donate it, that sort of thing. So what I created was a sample, and I'm going to have for you the sample and a blank one for you to use. But I created this just a simple Word doc that is a maintenance routine sample, and I'm trying to figure out there it is. I was trying to get into my full screen so I could see it. So what you're going to do, and I would love it if you would actually do this and share it in the group. I would love to see it. I know other people would love to see it. And maybe I should give away an Amazon gift card to somebody who does this. Let me think about that. Pay attention in the Facebook group, and I'll email. I might actually give away a little Amazon gift card to somebody who actually does this. So you have your area or supply category, you have your maintenance schedule and your notes. So this is mine, and I'm going to flush this out and share it in the group. So my organized only space, twice a week. Wednesdays and Sundays, end of the day or crafting session. Now that I'm probably actually going to change because my organized only space, I'm more of an everyday kind of person. Sundays is definitely one because that has me going into Monday with the desk clean, but I really don't necessarily I don't like to leave my desk cluttered at the end of the day. So that might be more 3 times per week. I'm still thinking about that. But the craft room itself, weekly, empty trash and recycling, remove anything that doesn't live there. Things that have been gotten out and not put away, get put away. My scrapbook paper, twice a year. Spring before creating keepsakes, winter during my holiday break. So I am fortunate enough to work for an organization that closes for 2 weeks during Christmas and New Year's. And that is a time for me where I really plan to do a lot of organization and de-stashing. I got sick for a week over that last year, which completely threw me off, and I did not start the year where I wanted. So here's hoping that doesn't happen again this year. But we'll be drinking a lot of orange juice and taking a lot of Zicam and echinacea around that time of year just to make sure. So you're going to have the sample and a blank copy for you to fill out for yourself. And like I said, I'm going to give away a $10 Amazon gift card to somebody, to anybody, not anybody. I'm going to draw a name. So anybody who posts their maintenance schedule in the Facebook group, I'm going to put all those names in a hat, and before the end of the month, before I shut down the Facebook group, I am going to give away a $10 Amazon gift card to one person who does their maintenance schedule and posts it in the group. So just a little added incentive there. Okay, so that's it. That is all of the content, official content for the lessons. Like I said, the Facebook group will be open through the end of the month, probably through like November 2nd or 3rd. I'm not going to shut it down on Halloween. Too much going on for me to do that. Before I close the group down, I am going to download all of the Q&As and make sure I have all of the resources that I've shared saved. I'm going to put the Facebook Q&As on YouTube with our lessons, and I'm going to put all of our resources on my website. There's a page specifically for this course. I'm going to kind of restructure that page so that all of that is there. Links to all the videos are there. I'm going to email all of that out to everybody so you have it in email as well, so that you will be able to access all of this content through the end of December. And then you have my email so you can reach out to me, anytime if you have questions. I'm also going to send you all a link in the link to this lesson, actually, although you'll get the email before you see this, but I created a holiday planner. I'm using that now as my email opt-in. I changed that after I did the registration for this course, so you all didn't have an opportunity to grab that as an opt-in. So I'm going to go ahead and share that out with everybody who is signed up for this workshop too, just as a little thank you. It's actually proving to be really popular, so I'm kind of excited about that. Okay, so what's next? So after, we're done with this, what's next? October 27th, that's a Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, I am going to do a 60-minute workshop specifically on organizing paper crafting supplies. Now, I've referred to a lot of that in this course because that's the majority of what I do. So you all may feel like you completely have, that down based on what you got here. But I'm going to dig a little deeper and have some more specific examples in that course around, if you're a scrapbooker or a card maker specifically, or if you, do paper crafting, decoupage, and things like that. It's going to be a $47 course. Anybody who has done any of my courses or workshops before will get that course for $17. And you'll get the course. There's going to be a 2-week Facebook group with live Q&As. There's a workbook. Might be a couple other little freebies and add-ons that I do there. Registration for that will launch this week. So watch your email and the Facebook group for that, because you will have a different registration code than everybody else so that you register at that discounted price. And you'll be a step ahead because you will have done a lot of the legwork in this course. Now, I'm going to touch very briefly in the beginning of that course around the work on getting familiar with what holds you back from getting and staying organized. But obviously in a 60-minute workshop, I can't go into that full level of detail there. So you'll have all that background information and have done some of that work in advance. January of 2025, I am launching a 30-day organizing bootcamp. Again, this is going to be very specific to creative supplies and craft rooms, although all the things can be extrapolated into other areas of your house. That's going to launch on January 5th or 6th. I'm not sure if I want to launch on a Sunday or Monday. Nobody's going to be ready for a January 1 launch, least of all me. So we're going to get a little bit out of holiday mode, and then we'll launch. There will also be a discount on that course for any of my former workshop or course participants. So that registration will launch before the end of October. So I will put that in the Facebook group. You will get that in an email. I'll be posting on social media as well. But you'll want to make sure, if you're interested in registering for that you use the link I sent you, because that's going to be the discount link. Okay, that's it. I'm going to, in your email today for the course, you got a list of organizing products. I'm going to put it in the Facebook group as well. Amazon deal days start tomorrow. And so I'm trying to dig around and figure out if there are deals on any of these things. So I'll flag that if I notice that. But you can also use these links as a jumping off point to find other things. So, if you go to Amazon, it'll say you might also like this, and you can, then possibly find something that there's a deal on. If you find something great in the deal days related to craft supply organization, I would love for you to share it in the Facebook group. I'll be doing the same. But definitely there's always a lot, and it's hard to keep up on all the deals. So definitely welcome other people sharing. And if you're an affiliate link, go ahead, share your affiliate link. That's totally fine. I don't have any problem with that. Let me know if you have any questions. I will be in the Facebook group for Q&A for this week on Sunday, the 13th. I think this past Sundays was at 2 Central, so I'll probably do the same. That worked well. I'll create the invite and all that kind of stuff when I land for sure on the time. I need to look at our schedule for Sunday. So that's it. Have a great week. And I will see you all in the Facebook group.